Good day. This is group number 4 and we'll discuss extinction as a threat to biodiversity.
What is extinction? Extinction is a process that leads to the disappearance of a species or a population. When a species becomes extinct, its genetic heritage is lost for good. With evolution, a species can become another in order to adapt to small environmental changes or due to the casual changes in its genetic heritage. This process is also known as speciation. In other words, the birth of a new species. Speciation and extinction are both natural evolutive process of living being. Therefore, natural extinction of a species in itself must be interpreted as a negative event, but it must be considered simply for what it is. In other words, an expression of biological evolution. The great extinction in history, in fact, were accompanied by formation of new species that have been given continuity and vigor to the diversities of life. Normally, two types of extinction may be classified. There is the background extinction, that is the slow and for us imperceptible trend of living creatures to form constantly, and there is the episodic extinction with massive and concomitant deaths of species, triggered by rapid changes in the environment in general. The extinction that contributed the most to the drastic changes in the flora and fauna in Earth's history were the second type. Some extreme event took place on a vast scale during the course of geological eras like climate change or the impact of our planet with comets and asteroids, which translated into environmental perturbation that were so radical that there were not many possibilities of escape for a multitude of organisms at various times of Earth's history. These phenomena have been very severe, limiting the factors for survival of the species, and at times these have drastically cut the biodiversity in the entire geographic region, causing the so-called mass extinction.
Humans affect biodiversity on many levels, and it is important to realize these effects on an individual, societal, and government level, and attempts to minimize them in order to ensure a future humanity. Numerous people do not consider the harm they are causing on biodiversity. However, it is significant as people to understand the effect we have on biodiversity, because without it, there will be no more human life. If no change are made in the ways humans use resources on Earth, there will continue to be a degradation of biodiversity until human lives can no longer be sustained. People influenced by diversity by their population numbers, utilization of land, and the ways of life, making harm environments for a species. It is significant for people to acknowledge how their activity influenced biodiversity, and the significance of keeping up what biodiversity is left on the earth through legitimate instructions and by requesting that administration settle on choices to safeguard biodiversity. The human population will have the option to support life on earth longer.
These are the endangered species in the Philippines. First, Philippine eagle, also called the monkey-eating eagle. The Philippine eagle is native to the southern Philippines. It is characterized by a brown and white feather pattern and bushy crest, and is believed to be one of the largest and most powerful birds on Earth. Second, Philippine freshwater crocodile, locally known as Mindoro crocodiles. They are endemic in the Philippines. The Philippine freshwater crocodile is quite small compared to other crocodiles, growing to about 4.5 to 5 feet long and weighing approximately 15 kilograms. Third, Tamarao, also known as the Mindoro dwarf buffalo. The Tamarao is the only known bovine that is indigenous to the Philippines until the 20th century. The original habitat of this species was essentially intact and unharmed. They were once found all over Mindoro Island, from the plains up to the mountains. Fourth, Walden's Hornbill, locally called Acalaw. It is also known as Visayan Wrinkled Hornbill. The Acalaw is endemic to the Philippine islands of Panay and Negros, although it can also be found in other regions of the countries such as Zamboanga, Del Norte, and Mindanao.
And the last one is Visayan wartipig. This land mammal is also in the IUCN's list of critically endangered species in the Philippines, once ubiquitous in the central Philippines, especially in the island of Cebu.
Hi, I will be talking about what happens when the extinction rate of a country increases. If a country has an increasing extinction rate, its ecosystem will have an unbalanced food chain, causing further problems. In an ecosystem, all living things work together and fulfill each other's needs. If a species of primary consumers were to become extinct, there will be no food source for the secondary consumers, decreasing its population and causing a chain reaction that will also affect other members of the ecosystem. All species in that ecosystem will also suffer the risk of endangerment or decrease in population due to the food shortage caused by the disrupted food chain. Lastly, due to the massive negative impact of extinction, all members of that affected ecosystem will have to adapt in terms of predation, competition for food, and many more.